Hello, we are live, Heidi.
This is exciting. I'm glad we're live.
Welcome to our live. This is the third live, but the first one was really, I was just turned it on and talked for a minute. And so not only, so this is really our second live, but it's our first international live, right?
Nice. Nice. Exactly. Bringing the international in the house.
All right. Well, thanks for joining, or if you're listening to the recording, I'm Julie, and I've invited Heidi. This is Heidi, and Heidi, tell us a little bit about you.
So, I have been in the industry for, almost 25 years. Started in sales, went to operations, and worked my way up on both platforms as to a vice president in both, and have always had a passion for sales. And so have gone back to my absolute love and passion, working
We,
alongside Grow.
and we love it. We love having you on our team. We're very lucky, and the reason I invited you is I get boring, right? If I'm just talking to myself, but I topic that keeps coming up, Heidi, is outreach, outreach, outreach. It's a hot topic. It always has been a hot topic. And I did a podcast recently. I did another podcast recording today. A professional in our business who listened to that podcast and said, "Hey, I agree with you. Outreach isn't dead." But a lot of people, professionals in our business, because so many of our leads come from digital, think, well, is it really worth the time? Right. So I thought we would get on live. And if you're joining us, thank you. Keep comments coming. And if you're listening to this in a recording, please put comments down and we'll certainly catch up with you on the next one. But what do you think? I know you are an outreach guru. So let's talk about outreach.
I always have been, Julie, as an advocate of outreach. We train our sales folks to be top of mind with our prospects. So, why would we not train our sales folks to make sure that our potential referral partners in our local community at large, why would we not be top of mind when they come across somebody that needs senior living and go, "Oh my gosh, I know the person immediately that comes to mind that could hook you up"? And so if we're training day in and day in and day in with our sales folks about being top of mind with our prospects, I've always believed that we need to be top of mind with community partners through outreach.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm.
I truly believe that.
Yeah, I do too. I got a call today from a gentleman I met at a conference. Now, Grow Your Occupancy has been in business just a little over 2 years. I've been in the business for quite a few, but I met him. I didn't know him prior, and I met him at a conference. I just started Grow. I think it could have been December of 21. And then I saw him at a couple other conferences, just that networking kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And he reached out today and said, "Hey, I was thinking about you. I remember what, conversation we had." And I thought, it's so critically important that if I wasn't out there, right, then he wouldn't have known.
That's right.
And yeah. So gosh, there's so much to talk about. So you've been in the business a long time. I have too. When I first started and I started in a very troubled building, I didn't know it at the time, but it was, probably 50% occupied, did not have a good reputation. It was a converted, a structure that had been converted from an old hotel. And so it was just studio apartments, and the bathrooms it really was tough. But I didn't know that. I thought it was great, right? And I did outreach. I outreached the heck out of and networked and outreached in events. I mean, 1 month I had 17 events, and it's big, small, because it was like, we got to get people in here. I didn't have much of a database, maybe 200. And it worked. And of course, then you have to sell and getting the prospects and getting the leads. And then when I became a sales specialist, it was outreach, outreach, outreach. That when, going and working, we have sales specialists, right? And you're a sales specialist. A lot of it is the internal piece and working the leads, which is so critically important. But that's how I really was able to be successful, was I'd go out.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I know things change, right? And the digital when I first started, we had a website. It's not everyone even had a website, right? So, and it was just basically a page. It was like your yellow pages online kind of thing. Remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, how do you feel like things have changed over the course of time, like approach to outreach?
I think there's a couple of caveats that have changed outreach. And one of them would be that big C word, the COVID times. So during COVID, of course, everyone said, we can't do outreach. We can't do outreach. And that really blocked a lot of people. And then when we came out of COVID, it was like, well, they're not doing events now. They're not doing this and that. And I think sometimes those are excuses because, like you, I have been grassroots trained on face to face, right? The fruit is in the face. People say the fruit's in the follow up. I agree with that, but the fruit is in the face. And if people get to know you and people get to know the community, you would be surprised that just because you know your community, you think everybody knows your community.
Right.
And that's not the case. To be honest with you, it's not the case. And especially something you said was reputation. So if a company has gone through a reputation dilemma, let's say, it is, in my opinion, even more imperative to be face to face. Let the marketing and advertising do its thing with digital marketing. Please don't give that up, but follow it up with a platform that would allow you to be out in the community to actually support what the company's doing digitally, to say, this is me, this is Julie, this is Heidi, this is what we're doing in the community. Have you seen our Facebook? Have you seen our YouTube? Have you seen our postings? And really get out on the street, get out in the events. And I've got so many ideas on how to get your foot in the door, but it's like you have to be constantly looking at opportunities to say, I met this person, they now know about us.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's that follow up? Just like we teach prospecting to follow up with your prospect, follow up with that new person you've met in the community as well. It's actually a very similar platform to make sure you remain top of mind.
You said you had a ton of ideas for getting your foot in the door. Share a couple of those.
If you don't know anybody in the community, let's say that you've just started in a community and you're like, oh my goodness, where do I start?
Yeah.
I truly pick up either the paper, if there's still a paper in your local communities, or digitally go to the newspaper, and without giving myself any type of, oh, they won't be interested in knowing, I literally think, I don't know the mayor. I don't know this person. I don't know that person. I don't know this company. And I make a laundry list of all the people in that paper. Maybe it's a congratulations of a new business opening. Maybe it's a congratulations of I've got a new job on LinkedIn. I literally make a list and then I will reach out to them and say, hey, Julie, congratulations. I hear that you've just opened up a flower shop. I'd love to come into your store, hear about why you started opening a flower shop. When I get in there, Julie, what I'm going to be talking about is what keeps them up at night. How do they hope to get customers? And then, of course, with flower shops, they're doing funeral arrangements. They're doing get well cards. They're getting get well flowers. I'm going to be so tied into you as the flower person that just opened the shop that I'm going to make sure that if Mrs. Smith comes in and says, oh, I need a funeral arrangement. My husband just passed away. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. I don't know how I'm going to live in my own home. My gosh, do you know Heidi? I know this great gal, Heidi. Let me connect you. If nothing else, it's worth a conversation. That's what I want people saying about me. And so those are some ideas that I would do to get out there.
So you're as you're talking, I'm thinking the other things we talked about too, Heidi, which is if getting out of the building is very hard because it's not difficult to literally get out, but just with all of the plates that people are spinning and juggling and speed to lead and eyes on and everything like and phone phone calls, tours. Uh, so I would agree, face to face is great. It is the best, right? Just like with your prospects, with our families, face to face is the best. If second would be doing that, what you're saying through LinkedIn or through social channels. But LinkedIn, professional to professional, people reach out to me quite a lot on LinkedIn. And there's ways I would give advice. It would just be from people approaching, introducing themselves. There's a way to do that too. And I think one of the things what your example was, you're making it all about the business. You're making it all about, in this case, it was a florist. You're not saying, hey, can we get together so I can tell you all about, the gardens of Franklin.
Right.
I'd like to pop in and meet you, your new business. So yeah, look at your, keep, don't want to scroll LinkedIn during business hours, copiously, but be aware. I would say be aware. And there are ways to approach. You can do little videos, right? Little video intros. Even on LinkedIn, you can do that. And you can do that certainly via email as well. I like that when you say comb maybe the local paper or the local online of what's going on. What about the traditional, right? If you are in assisted living or memory care, and even independent living, of rehabs, right? Because rehabs and skilled, and I mean, they still have a lot of people. Like, I hate that word discharge. I'm not sure why. It sounds sounds very, I don't know, military or something. But they're still working with a lot of families on a weekly basis, a lot, and who are struggling with what to do next. So it makes a lot of sense. Would you recommend starting at the rehab?
Absolutely. I mean, there's tried and true ones too that are with seniors all the time. One being those discharge planners, any type of a practice that you're aware of that has a lot of seniors in them. Maybe some departments are more known for having a senior population, obviously in the hospital. I recently sent a thinking of you on LinkedIn to somebody who is in the hospital that does a lot of discharging, and I don't know her, but she posted on still the stress and the overwork that nurses have right now. And it's not to just say, I want to join your link network, and then the next thing I post is, hey, how can I help you? Did you know there's a community? So I sent her a little kind of thinking of you. This is, very important for us to know our mental health, whatever. She wrote me back and she said, oh my gosh, Heidi, thank you so much. It's so great to know that people understand what we're going through. So now she's more likely to connect with me because I've buffered that relationship with following her and liking what she's saying. I'm not going to pounce on her and say, oh, come to my community or come to get to know us right now. I'm trying to get to know people, right? Because I'm following them and I'm watching them. But certainly going out into local discharge areas, senior centers, all those things I truly believe are still very, very valuable. Even churches, people are going back to church. People are doing sports again, right? And it's sometimes thinking about, in my opinion, getting to the influencers. So if you go, for example, our very, very good friends are curlers.
I don't want to interrupt you. I said it was international, and I didn't say that. Why is this international? You are, maybe people haven't guessed, but Canadian. So when you say curlers, you're not talking about the,
No. I'm talking ice curling, right?
We're talking ice curling. Is that the one with the brush, the broom, and the
exactly. That's right. But all their parents are 80, 85 plus.
Sure.
Our very good friends do curling 3 times a week. She had just sent me when she got up to, like, where they have drinks and snacks and lunch, she said, Heidi, just want to let you know, on every table there was a pamphlet from this retirement community.
How interesting.
I'm like, what a great way to do outreach. Those are the people that are having parents that are going through struggles and needing assistance in their knowledge base of how to navigate the world of senior living at whatever level their parent needs. So that's just another creative way of doing that.
I like that. I like that. We here, well, first of all, I have to go off topic. So curling. Do you curl? Are you a curler?
I've done once in my life, and I didn't know muscles should hurt that bad.
Well, just like anything, right? Watching it, it's like they're a broom and they're sweeping ice. And I'm not making light of it because I'm sure it's extremely difficult. But so the idea is to get the puck thing close to the goal, right?
That circle in the middle. It's called the rock.
The rock.
And they took the rock down, and they have so many turns, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but they have so many turns that they can knock the other rocks out, the opponents.
That's right.
And the closest rock that stays in the middle, they're the one who wins and gets.
Okay, so your strategy is to also bump other people off.
That's right.
And so the broom thing is making what is that doing?
So it warms up the ice so that it, or slows it down. Sweep, sweep, sweep. And they want to just recreate where the path should go for this rock. And that's how it goes. I'm probably butchering this for any curler out there. I apologize, but for what I'm seeing, but that's basically what I'm hearing.
And so, and I would assume that your muscles are sweet, like it's like super, super intense.
It looks so easy. You just slide down the ice and you throw the puck or the rock. And I was on my butt most of the time because it looks so easy, but then you tip over and you fall and it's cold.
Oh yeah, I would assume. Hey, are you getting a really like a more mild winter like so many?
We are. We had one brief week of like all the snow for the winter. And now tomorrow, I think it's going up to like high 40s in Celsius, like high 40s in Fahrenheit. But yeah, it's getting warm for you, Fahrenheit.
Yes. For us Fahrenheiters.
Yeah.
Another plug that is off topic. If any of you haven't seen the Saturday Night Live skit with Nate Bargatze, who plays George Washington, and he's talking to his troops about establishing weights and measures, it's hilarious.
Okay.
Yes. He's from Nashville. He's now like the comedian of the moment, which well deserved. But anyway, so what about outreach? I would say that there's so many different ways to approach it. I would pick one, right? There's the school of thought of choose like building the relationships with key accounts, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're in assisted living, it makes sense to go to rehabs. It makes sense to go to doctor's offices or Jerry Psych for memory care, etc. And then I don't disagree with any of that. I think that's important. And then there's like you were saying, it's more broad in scope of the curling, or the bowling, or certainly the churches, or the volunteer organizations, maybe the local gym, the exercise, the gym, the yoga studios. Are you going to get a direct referral when you stop in a yoga studio? No, I highly doubt it. But that's that longer game. Or going to a florist, it's a longer game.
Right.
But, and if someone has a very 2 hours a week, I'd say go try, those immediates, and maybe pepper in some of those longer term. But I really think that to keep an open mind on the approach, because not doing it, in my opinion, is really defeat, and you really are, put that, speaking of idioms, but shooting yourself in the proverbial foot, right?
Well,
so
yeah.
it's not because of anything other than this is what we see over and over and over again. Well, you're in databases, our team's in databases, been databases for years and years, and with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teams of what does move that needle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a one and done. Like, I don't think it's like I met Julie at the florist, I've done it, she knows me. I think it's the follow up. And I think it's, Julie, in fact, I found someone who might need some flowers. Julie, can I have a couple of your business cards so I can keep them on my desk and I can give them out? Or I can, give you an electronic card or something to that effect. And I'm going to go out there when I know somebody who needs flowers, I'm going to send them to you, Julie. So it builds a rapport. But it's also maybe an opportunity for even to snowball into an event to come into the community where I say, we're going to have Julie, the local florist expert, talk about what it means to send somebody roses or what it means to send somebody this or that, and what's the appropriate thing to do and how to do it. And maybe you can shed some light. So now we've partnered even more, and you're bringing in your clientele as the florist to get all your patrons to come into our community to listen to your talk on flowers. Meanwhile, I'm building a relationship further with you. I'm building your business. You're building mine by bringing in people to come and hear your talk. We can advertise it on both platforms of digital, whether it's yours or mine. And so now it just snowballs. And that all came from my very first contact saying, congratulations on opening up your flower shop, right? Mm-hmm. There's lots of opportunities.
There is. It's a balance between having an agenda or an objective and not having an objective.
Mm-hmm.
Or so they, I'm big on planning. Like how are you going to open this conversation, or what question do you want to ask, and make sure it's about them, not you. The other side of that is, while you do want to plan, like question you want to ask or something that, you might want to learn for sure. Mm-hmm. The other side of it is just let it flow. You don't have to come to a solution. You don't have to, like you said, the one and done. This is a continuous conversation, and it can go a year, 2 years, 3 years. If any of us look up an event that you attended 2 years ago, or think about an event you attended, if you can even remember, I'm seeing that myself, or 3 years ago, and look at the attendee list, and you were to tell me, without the names of the companies or everything, what they did, who they are, even with the names of the companies, you really kind of go, ugh. But it's those people that gently stay in connection, right? Yeah. And so the other thing too, hopefully learn every day. It's usually just from people teaching me. But I had a call with a young guy who's I met a couple years ago, again, maybe 2 years ago at a conference, and he and I have stayed in touch. There's absolute ways that to refer business and things like that. And he called me for on something else early this week. And I noticed he's so good. He started the conversation and he said, "You know what I was thinking?" And I said, "Hey, what? Well, what are you thinking?" And he said, "I was just thinking how you and Jim, my husband, you and Jim are just like the greatest couple. You just seem so perfect for one another."
Oh,
exactly.
That's
right?
good.
And how I thought, and he means it, right? But he's like, he wanted to ask me something. He wanted my advice on something, but he didn't say, "Hey, how are you?" Great, blah, blah. Okay, about me, and here's my problem. And how did that make me feel? Really good. It did.
Yep.
And we chatted a little bit about it, and I thought, first of all, he remembers my husband's name. He, is just it just, I think, that's good. That's good. Learning something about somebody, asking them, jotting it down. What is their they had a grandbaby, maybe you don't remember everyone's name all the time. Just, hey, how is your granddaughter? How's your grandbaby? Or they got a puppy, maybe the dog's 3 years old now. How is your dog? That kind of thing. It's so critical. It's so
Yeah.
critical. Yeah. Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. You don't want to go in with a script that says you're just peppering them. When did you open? When did you do this? Why did you get in? But I think if you do prepare prior, it's in your subconscious what you want to ask, so that as the conversation morphs around, things will start peppering into the conversation that you would actually plan to ask, but it's not going to come out scripted and rote, and it's going to become more of a conversation. And I think if you go in with your plan that you know a little bit about the person or the company that you're going into, I do think that that helps. Because I think if you come in too cold, I just wanted to know about your company and I want to also give you my card and let you know, people are going to just think it's a sales call. And those are not what we're talking about. We're not talking about sales calls. We're talking about partnership referrals as outreach activities that we want you to do. That's really what we're talking about. We're not talking about sales calls, because we all hate the word buy. We don't want people to buy from us, and we don't want to be sold, right? We want to feel as though we're making a decision that it makes sense for us to partner and refer. And the old saying is tried and true. We like doing business with people we like, know, and trust. And trust comes after many, many touch points. It doesn't come because I gave you my business card and introduced myself.
That's the truth. So what would you say then for someone who says, and I hear this and you probably do too, you're on site quite a bit. It's the local referral agencies have this area sewn up. All the referrals go to the local referral agencies, or that the paid aggregator has hired somebody and that person lives in the hospital. I've heard that multiple times. Yeah. What would be a sort of an anecdote to that?
I would be saying, why does that person really know that a place for mom was the place to go to get? I'm just using that example. There's many aggregates out there, but why did they not know that we were down the street already? Why did we not know that the pastor could have referred, or the doctor or discharge planner would know about us? I always say that shame on us to not allow her or him to have known that we're already in existence. If we spent more time on doing the outreach that I believe should be done weekly, then maybe we wouldn't need so many paid aggregates to bring in leads, because we would be doing our own reconnaissance out there in the industry, in the local area, and we would be bringing in our own leads by not just outreach, but why outreach got us, meaning it got us an in at a trade show. It got us an in at going to the local church and hosting coffee club after the service and getting to know people. So instead of going online and saying, oh, where should I put my husband, Johnny? You met me at church at coffee hour and said, Heidi said, come on over, let's talk. I may not be your perfect fit, but I am an advisor and I'll help you through this navigation of unknown world of senior living. So I think that the sites that I see that are doing really well in outreach predominantly are not having as many aggregates feeding into them. And I love to see that. In fact, in Canada, I'll be honest, in Canada, there are very few companies that use now, like a Place for Mom. They try to do their own searching for their own leads. I'm not knocking it. There is a place for it.
Yeah. So what about, and I would agree with you, especially on the local referral. I know somebody, a former colleague in our local town here, who used to be an executive director, and he started he and his wife. So just, and not just, but the two of them, small referral, placement agency. And it wasn't very, very, soon after they started, where he said, gosh, we're getting 10 referrals a month. Then it was 20 referrals a month. and they're out, 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 out. Now, granted, they don't have a community to run. I understand that. But is there, I just think instead of thinking about how it won't work, how could it work? How do we get in front of? And why not, instead of giving it to George, could we not get the referral ourselves? Now, the other side of that, though, Heidi, is when you hear, well, we don't want to deal. I mean, they don't say it like that, but we know if we send it to George, he knows he'll bring them to everybody and he'll help sort them through and he'll walk with the family. And I get that. Whereas if I'm from Gardens of Franklin, I have an agenda that they, or a perceived agenda that I want them to move. And I want them to move if they're appropriate and everything. It's a good fit. I'm not going to upsell another community. However, I don't know. I'm just going to stop there. I mean, that's a challenge. It is a challenge when you've got someone like, hey, look, I think you're great. I know who you are. Heidi, you're fantastic. I'd refer everybody to you if I could, but George really gives the family more, just and let the family pick. How would you kind of approach that?
Well, I think sometimes our aggregates go to many communities and they're trying to, quite frankly, their job is to place people into a community. And so sometimes it's just a matter of sprinkle dusting enough contacts and they're going to pick one. But to me, is when you really spend time with your prospect and you get to know them, they don't need to go to 10 different communities to pick one. They need to identify if this community is the right for them. And so I always think that if I was able to do my outreach, get a referral, I can demonstrate, if appropriate, and be proud to say, if I'm not the right fit, then I can refer you to somebody else. But you don't need to be inundated with 10 communities calling you and 10 different sites, because honestly, by doing too much, you get paralysis by analysis, because you've gone to 10 properties, you've spoken to 10 people, you've got all of the pricing mumbled, and then they become more paralyzed because they can't analyze all the information. Just like you earlier said, you can't remember everybody that you met at a conference. How can they remember everything they saw and the numbers? And don't forget, they're a pretty heightened sensed condition right now that they're going through. So they're not even going to remember that much anyways, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking like to offer, and maybe not at that moment, right? You say, hey, I hear you. I know you've got so much to do, and your job is not to analyze every community in our area, and maybe leave it like that and then come back. I was thinking about what you said, and I'm thinking about what you said, Heidi, and saying that I can see the benefit of sending, having George, because he doesn't, from the look of it, doesn't have an ulterior motive to go to any one community, but he certainly does to a community. It can get rare, and then go to what you're saying, just softly, like, that can be super over. It was helpful. I can see that side, but on the flip side, I could even say, when I've done shops, or I've done community visits as a customer, I've done 3. The most was 3 in one day. At 2 in one day, and it's mind blowing. Saying, if might you consider, or just a thought. See, again, you're not going for the end of the sentence. Maybe just get a little bit farther in. Here's just a thought I had. What if they started at our community, and then you certainly do all the discovery, make the connections, do build a relationship like I've done with you, and then give them, if they're still undecided, say, okay, here's 2 others to consider.
Absolutely.
And that way you're at least potentially maybe opening up, because you're right. but first of all, it's mindset. If you're, the whole thing, if you're looking for an excuse, boy, oh boy, can we find one? And it's excuse is harsh because there's so much going on, And as you know, and you had a week of, you're in a cold database right now, right?
That's right.
You're making calls and you just feel like you're not getting any traction, right?
Feel like you're kicking dust right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, are you kidding me? Someone's going to tell me to do more or have a different mindset when you're just really fried. But so in order to conquer this or even to attempt to, the mind has to be like, okay, how can I keep this door open? What can I do? You might not know the answer. I think a lot of us, we put this kind of pressure on ourselves to have the solution, to have to come with the solution. And boy, I wish I'd learned this in my 20s.
Guilty,
I'm
yes.
still working on it, Heidi. And I also noticed too that people, and myself included, you say, hey, what questions do you have, or what's the challenge? And instead of stating what the challenge is, they'll state what they perceive the solution to be, right? And you're like, wait, back up, right?
Yeah,
but so I'm just thinking that keeping an open mind of how, given my 2 hours a week or given my 4 hours a week or my 1 day a week, whatever it is, first of all, you have to do it. I guess you don't have to do anything. If you are allowed. Now, there are some companies that are like, no, you're not going out. It's not worth it. You have to do your outreach from inside. We'll do that in another live. But I would kind of touch on a little bit with LinkedIn and video messaging. Video messaging can be very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I would absolutely please do that because, we do that at Grow, right? And that's something that I can't say enough of, but especially now we're so used to it. We're so used to it. That keep an open mind of, okay, I'm allowed, I get to go, I'm allowed to do 4 hours a week or a day or whatever it is. How do I maximize that? And not to be defeated about being sort of turned down. So one last thought I had was that see when you kind of open up your head, even at the end of the day,
I know.
I'm like,
but I think that'd be a good follow-up chat to just talk about how do you navigate when you're out of the building. That's a whole conversation about how do you set up for success when you're out of the building, because the building still has to be ready to go for sales. And so I think that would be another
absolutely, right? Absolutely, it is.
How do you get that time to do it? Consistency, obviously, I think is a huge factor in the success of outreach, because not only is it good for you to be out there always, your skill set, you're going to improve every time you go out there. And the first time you do it, you might get tongue-tied, you might forget to do certain things or follow up, but the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, right? And you'll be more confident walking in, and confidence sells. Right. So that's a whole different conversation.
It is a whole different conversation. And, if you're unsure on the, which we will continue on later, but then on the person who says to you, well, we use placement agents or we pass them on to the aggregators or whatever, say, ask why, just again, or I'm just curious, what benefit, is that? And just like, allow yourself grace to not always have the answer, not always know exactly what to say. And that's relieving. When someone gives you a response or says something, you don't always have to have an answer, a solution.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's interesting. And then ask a little bit more so you can really, you can keep the mind open no matter what time of day it is. Heidi, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for, keeping your mind so positive, because I know what you're doing right now. And there's a lot of people out there that do have those same tasks, which right now you're on an assignment of I don't like the word cold, but an existing database that hasn't been nurtured.
Yeah.
Okay. And the success rate.
It's an unnurtured opportunity to connect with people.
Unnurtured opportunities. I like that. I like that. So what are you doing this weekend?
What am I doing this weekend? Oh gosh, what are we doing? Oh, I know. And it's an American thing. I am a diehard football fan.
How could you forget the Super Bowl?
I'm doing the Super Bowl on Sunday. You better believe it. Got to get the menu planned and
so you're having a party.
Yeah, we're going to have a few people over, and I am a Kansas City girl, so I will be voting for Kansas City.
All right. So you and so many against San Francisco. You're a Buffalo Bills fan, right?
I'm Buffalo Bills, but when they kind of got out, but I mean, I'm a CFL girl at heart, but I flip over to the NFL when our season's over. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm Lions, and I got to be proud. We got to be excited. They got as far as they did.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
So I'm a little, I'm going for Chiefs too. So, but you know, the quarterback for San Francisco, what a story he's got too. So it'll be a good game. It'll be a good game.
I think it'll be a good close game, which is nice. Nobody wants a walk away.
No, we got to stay on keep the adrenaline going. Like we're even doing anything.
I know, right?
They're doing the hard work, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and hopefully you get a few takeaways from outreach, or have a little fun, or be able to relax. And we will see you next time, right? On our live. Hit subscribe and like, and if you hit the notification bell, then you'll be notified when we go live. But these will be in our forever library. So thanks, guys. Thank you, Heidi.
Bye-bye.